Hi everybody. This video is going to be on making your own soap. I didn't want this video to be super long, so what I did is I've already done a bunch of the prep that has to be done, and then I'm just going to do the part of the process on camera that I feel like is a little hard to explain without photos. So I'm just going to talk through the beginning of the process, and then we'll hop in where we are. So obviously I will put the recipe up so you can see exactly what the recipe is. So in the beginning, you're using fats that are solid. You're using some fats that are liquid. So you want to have all your ingredients weighed out, of course. All of your solid fats will go into a pan, a pot. You're going to put that on the stove top and just have it ready. You're not going to turn it on yet. The other part of your process, when you're weighing out all of your ingredients, one of your ingredients is going to be distilled water, and one of your ingredients is going to be lye that you need for soap making. So obviously I have to just stop right there and talk about safety real quick. We all know just how dangerous and caustic lye drain cleaner is if used improperly. So what I do, obviously, first of all, I store this somewhere in the basement, somewhere in the shed. I store this way out of the way of where anyone could use it by accident. When I do weigh out my lye, starting with that, I wear goggles, I wear long sleeves, and I wear gloves as well, okay? And that's non-negotiable. We all think we're not going to make a mistake, but you don't get your eye back. So we don't play around with that. So once you have everything weighed out, your oils are sitting on your stove, ready to melt, and your lye and your water are also weighed out. What you have to do is add your water to your lye. So I always make sure that I have some sort of a container that's not going to react. What happens when you add your lye to your water is it immediately heats to a very high temperature. It can be close to 200 degrees. And it also will give off fumes because there's a whole chemical reaction taking place. So a mason jar has worked pretty well for me. I've also used a tempered glass pitcher. I also want to make sure it's nothing that's going to react. So I also do this outside. So I have everything weighed out. I take my mason jar outside. This is a spatula that I use only for soap making. I have my water in my jar. I add my lye solution, keeping in mind that I'm wearing goggles, long sleeves, and gloves. And you can see it immediately, start to dissolve into the water. I stir just for a minute, holding my breath, and then I go inside. I let the fumes dissipate for a few moments. I go back out, and I'll give it another few stirs, just because sometimes the lye can actually clump up and not dissolve completely in the water. So by this time, it's very hot. Once I make sure it's dissolved, I just leave it outside for, usually takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on how hot it is, for the temperature to come down. So the next part of the process, you want to make sure you have some sort of a thermometer for this, is for your fat solution and your lye solution to both be between 80 and 100 degrees. So while my lye solution is outside cooling, I go ahead and start melting my fats. So that's the point at which I go ahead and turn on the fire, start getting my solid fats melted. Once they're melted, they're going to be over the 100-degree mark. I'll go ahead and add whatever fats that I have are liquid. And you'll see all of that in your ingredient list that I'll have for you. Generally, it still goes a little over, so then it needs some time to cool. So it usually ends up working out for me that my oils are a little over 100 degrees, and then I still have to wait a little while for my water solution to come down to 100 as well. So right now, I'm just about at that sweet spot where they're both between 80 and 100 degrees. They're both right around 90 right now. So I usually do this part of the process by hand. Friend of mine, though, who started making her own soap, does it in her KitchenAid. So I'm actually going to do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead, and these are once again, all of my oils. I'm going to add all of my oils to my mixer. Okay. Obviously, you don't want to spill anything. This is all precious cargo here. And then I'm going to put this on the very lowest setting, just to stir, because I don't want anything to splash. Right now it's very liquid, things will just splash. And then I'm going to drizzle in my water and lye solution. That is also, once again, between 80 and 100 degrees. And that's just going to incorporate. Okay? Just going to keep drizzling until it's all in. And then for scent of this soap, I do have some essential oils weighed out as well. You don't have to scent it if you don't want to, obviously, but I do usually prefer to. So I have some essential oils weighed out here. They don't go in until close to the end. So now we're just waiting for the mixing process to happen. And how you know, and why I wanted to have this part on camera, how you know when it's ready is you'll see what they call trace. So as this mixes, as it comes to saponify, is what they call it, it'll get more cloudy and more cloudy. The mixture will. And as soon as it gets more cloudy, I'll bring it up to the camera and show you so you can see what I mean. And then it'll get to the point where if I lift and drizzle a little bit of the mixture, it'll actually show a pattern on top. It won't just absorb back in so quickly. It'll take a few minutes to do that. So this is just going to take a few minutes to mix. And then when I start to see the trace is when I know that I can go ahead and add my essential oils. And that's kind of my cue, like, keep this moving. Once it starts to trace, it can start to firm up quickly. So at that point, you really want to start moving quickly. So when it starts to trace, I will add my essential oils. And then I also have my container that my soap is going to cure in, ready to go. So I just use a simple cardboard box. So somewhere around like 9 by 11 or 9 by 12. Obviously, if it's a little bigger or a little bigger or a little smaller, your dimensions are a little different. That just means your soap is going to be less thick or more thick, either. So this box is lined with wax paper, and I use masking tape. I don't like to have any masking tape on the inside because it can stick to the soap, but I did have to put it in just a couple of places. If it sticks to the soap, just peel that part off. No big deal. So my mold is ready to go. This is my mold. And then, still waiting here, starting to get just a little bit cloudy. So I know we're on our way. So once I do pour this into the mold, the next thing that needs to happen is it needs to cure for 24 hours. 24 to 48 hours, approximately. And it needs to be warm as well. So what I'll do, once I pour this in, I'm going to put something on top of it. I usually put another piece of cardboard on top of this box. And then I wrap it in towels, and I'll put it in a closet. The mixture is going to be warm on its own, and I want it to retain that heat. It needs that heat to go through the curing process, which is going to take that 24, 48 hours. At the end of that process, technically, you then need 2 weeks for your soap to just come to, just to mellow out enough that you want to go ahead and use it on your skin. Generally, my soap is hard enough after that 24-hour mark that I go ahead and cut it into bars right then. But this is all a matter of feel. So if after that 24 hours you touch it, your soap is still relatively liquid, then you just uncover it, let it cure, and keep checking it every day. When it gets hard enough, then that's when you will go ahead and cut it. But it's obviously part of the process you want to keep a really close eye on, because if they get too hard and then you try to cut them, then obviously it's going to break. You're not going to get clean cuts. So you want it to be solidified, but pliable, so that you can get nice cuts and you can get nice bars out of it. So still just waiting here. And I don't want to make this video super long. So it's taking a little bit longer than I hoped to get to trace. So I'm just going to show you guys where we're at right now. Put the camera down just a little. And so the mixture, as you can see, it's cloudy. So I know that we are there. We're not there. We're heading there. We're just not there yet, okay? So I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm not going to wait all the way until we get to trace, which is what I wanted to show you guys. I'm going to have to just put up another picture so you can see how it looks with the trace, and then put that picture up along with the recipe so that you guys can see that part of the process, okay? Hopefully this has been, even though I had to explain, most of it instead of showing you the whole process, hopefully that explanation is still pretty self-explanatory. If there's any part of the process that you feel like either I didn't cover verbally or I'm not covering in the recipe that I'm listing, please just ask a question, let me know. I'll be more than happy to fill in with whatever part you are lacking. Okay? Thank you so much.